You know, one thing that's kind of hit and miss with anglers is trailer hooks. I'm a big proponent of trailer hooks. I hear some guys say, and I think you lose more on trailer hooks. You definitely can get hung more with a trailer hook around cover if you're in kind of heavy cover situations on a spinnerbait or a buzzbait. These are the two I throw the most in that. It's a Dirty Jigs buzzbait and a Z-Man spinnerbait, a Sling Blades. And I've always thrown trailer hooks, big believer in them, but I like smaller trailer hooks. A lot of people like to go with a really big one. The size I use probably most often is what they call a 3/0. Some people call it a 2/0. It's a fairly small, you can see it's a fairly small trailer hook in contrast to the spinnerbait. And that's by far the biggest I'll go. And even then, I like to use a little bit heavier rod with the trailer hook. You think of a fish that eats the whole bait, now it has 2 hooks to drive versus 1. So a lot of times I'll use a little bit heavier rod with the trailer hook. And one thing that most all trailer hooks come with is a little plastic keeper. It goes around the eye of the hook. You know, it fits over it. It's a little tube piece. And a lot of people like to keep that over the eye. What that does is keep your trailer hook rigid so it can't move. The problem is a lot of times it gets stuck sideways, backwards. One thing with trailer hooks I always do is always let the hook free swing. Now you could put something behind it if you want to stop it back here, but always have something in front of it. You can take the same tube and run it right up over the hook and just let it hang like so. You can see where that tube just stops that hook there. It's always swinging freely. So that is always hanging straight back. It's never stuck with that tube over it at the side, to the back, to the front, whatever it may be. You know, instead of using the tube, I used to use a hole punch and milk jugs. You can make a ton of little rings. There's bait keepers out there. You can use bobber stops that are made for that, that'll go over on both sides of them that are larger. A lot of different things. The milk jug's the cheapest way to make a lot of them if you want to do it at home. But make sure to always have your trailer hook swinging freely. You don't want that to be rigid inside that tube. And the same thing on a buzzbait. And another thing I'll do a lot of times around cover, and probably more with a buzzbait than a spinnerbait, just because the arm's shorter and you get hung more, is a small trailer hook. This is like a 1/0, really little trailer hook. It doesn't look like it's going to do much. You'd be surprised that little hook gets around the lip of a fish though. That little bit of distance, I've caught some really big fish on that little hook. And that little trailer hook, not nearly as cumbersome around cover and a lot easier to drive too. Those fish can swipe at it. You hook some outside the mouth, but it doesn't take a lot of penetration with that little hook. That little hook's probably one that I use more than anything. And just that little bit of distance being set back just that little bit further will get you more fish in the boat.